I was trying my best to help save ostriches and perhaps somehow Canada connected to that through journalism, I missed that Elenore Sturko was kicked out of caucus. It was just a few days ago. And if anybody has been keeping up with, whether it's the infighting, the lack of unity in that party, it would be Dallas Brody, who was formerly, as I said, the critic to the Attorney General for the BC Conservatives. And if you don't know, got the boot after standing in the truth of simply saying there were 0 bodies discovered at the former Kamloops Indian Residential School. Nobody should be afraid or punished for saying that. Then she gets kicked out. And one of the people who seemed very happy about you leaving was, in fact, Miss Elenore Sturko, who's been kicked out. So what can you tell us about this since you're there, you're at the legislature? Did this surprise you at all? Yeah.
Yes, it was very surprising. And I heard, I was there that day when this was Monday. And when she got kicked out, it just went through the building like wildfire, and nobody saw it coming. And including Eleanor, because I ended up bumping into her in the hallway. And I said to her, well, welcome to independent land. And they had already found her a new office. And she said, you want to chat for a few minutes? I said, sure. And I know that she had not been very kind to me in the past, but in politics, I'm learning it's a dirty business, and you have to, you just don't hold grudges, you move on and move forward. And we chatted for a while, and it's going to be very hard for Eleanor to be an independent, because at least I had a couple of people who left with me and were politically aligned with me. And she's now sitting there alone. And that's going to be very difficult, because sitting as an independent, you have almost no logistical support or involvement. You get one question in question period every 3 weeks. You don't really get assigned to any committees. You don't get official notifications from the speaker's office about what's happening on any given day. You're really isolated. And when we were still independents before we formed our party, we had to rely on favors of friends to tell us where people were in the building. Where's this committee meeting? And it sounds bizarre that you wouldn't know what's going on, but the building is so huge in all these different rooms, and you're not sure where to go. It was very hard and quite stressful, actually, to not know what's going to happen on any given day. So she's going to that's going to be a rough road for Eleanor. The funny thing is that John is saying that the story was that he kicked her out because she was gunning for his job and agitating against him. And Eleanor's not the only person doing that in that party.
I mean, give us the tea.
Well, I mean, there are a lot of people who are openly advocating they want to be leader. Harman Bangu, Gavin Dew, Elenore Sturko. These are the names that were thrown around when I was still there. And I remember going to John and I said to him, I said, do you know that a whole bunch of people are trying to take, this is before I had been expelled. Do you know that a bunch of people are openly agitating to take your job? And I remember him saying, oh, that's just politics, Dallas. And I said, but John, they're running for your job and we haven't even gotten started yet. And he brushed it off and didn't think it was a big deal. I thought it was a big deal. How can you function when you're fighting off people in your own party? You need to be aligned. But Eleanor, I think this might have been a symbolic thing. Like, anybody, you step out of line and this is what's going to happen to you. I'm sure that's what they did with me.
Well, there's also the claim that she was booted out for allegedly leaking some information, which there's been a lot of leaking. I mean, this party has, just been brought back to life in this last election, and there has been multiple leaks. And I know Ms. Sturko has gone out and said, no, that's not why I got kicked out. I got kicked out for sort of shedding light on some concerns over the membership, which John Rustad just was re-voted into as continuing as leadership. But to just remind people of some of the things here, there's been some concerns that the BC Conservative Party is not, in fact, conservative, at least not all of its MLAs. And one of the main people was, in fact, Elenore Sturko, who was in question for multiple reasons. Just really quickly, one was, calling very conservative concerns surrounding parental rights from former Vancouver Police Board member, Comfort Sakoma, when she had went on her Instagram and she had said, you know, parents shouldn't be divided from their kids if they're not ready to fully comprehend that their kid wants to transition. They shouldn't be vilified. Well, Elenore Sturko said language like that was transphobic and it was anti-police when she was on the police board. So I did reports on that. And I just have if I don't know, can we play the timestamp from that report that shows Elenore Sturko, who's a former RCMP member, one of her most proudest moments, I put it in the chat, but one of her most proudest moments was being a police officer who did her sex activism and got the Surrey Police Department to go ahead and raise a pride flag. Like, Surrey has so much crime, and you know, that's one of her proudest moments. So I don't know if we can show the picture there. That's in my report. But where I'm getting at here is to go to Odessa. And by the way, Odessa, you were a delegate with the BC Conservatives, a delegate with MLA Dallas Brody. I don't know where that leaves you now, since Dallas Brody's her own party with One BC. Are you comfortable telling us where that leaves you? But also, what do you think this symbolizes, kicking out Elenore Sturko? Does this mean the Conservative Party is trying to be more conservative, or just too much infighting?
Well, I quickly want to mention, do you remember, Drea, I think it was about a year ago, you and me were on the phone for about 45 minutes because we had been given insider information from, you had one lady and I had a man telling me, and these are people inside the party saying Elenore Sturko is planning to try to overthrow and become leader. This has been going on for a long time, and we were worried she might accomplish it. So this is not a new thing. There are people that are inside that said she is doing this, so she's denying. Now, the next thing that happened to me is, this is crazy. I don't know, the universe is incredible. I live in Dallas's riding. Yes. Luke, here on the west side of Vancouver. And so, of course, I met her. And then Dallas called me and said, will you go to the AGM? I went to the AGM. You covered, Drea. What a gong show that was. Well, as soon as Dallas got kicked out, everybody in her riding got a message, who's a member, in an email saying, we had 48 hours, something like 48 hours, to decide, are we with Dallas or are we with the BC Conservatives? And we had to make a decision. And if you couldn't email them back and say, I stand with BC Conservatives over Dallas, like, wah, wah, then we would lose our membership.
Right, I forgot about that.
I'm not going to repeat what I said, nor what my husband said, because it wasn't my shiniest moment, but I got kicked out. It doesn't mean that, you know, John doesn't like me or whatever, but this was just politics. And then I said, can I get my $1,000 donation back? You know, I didn't get my $1,000 donation back that my family gave when we thought there was hope and we stood behind Dallas. But what a gong show that was. So now I'm just part of nothing but the truth.
Well, I hear there's a rumor circulating. Some journalists are speaking to the rumor, which is all it is right now, that another leftist within the BC Conservatives has been demoted from House Speaker, and that is Chilliwack MLA Alia Warbus. So we'll see if that's true, and we will certainly cover it. Now, David, I told you there's a lot going on in BC, is there not? But you live in a province where, you know, a lot of people are looking at your Conservative premier and thinking he's not that conservative. So when you see this divide and people leaving when either they're left or, in Dallas's case, I would say standing for conservatism, what do you think of?
Well, first of all, I think you three ladies have forgotten more about BC politics than I'm ever going to learn. So I'll say that. But from what I can tell from 3,000 miles away, whether it's the BC Conservative Party, the Conservative Party that is the governing party in Nova Scotia, the Conservative Party that's the governing party in Ontario, is it possible they can live up to the conservative part of the party as opposed to being conservative in name only? Or is that, to quote ex-Liberal Ontario Premier Kathleen Wynne, too much of a stretch goal? And furthermore, I think when you know, you're having all these internal problems, these palace coups, you know, it takes away the focus from the incumbent government that is doing your province no great favors. I mean, that should be the primary target. I mean, what I see going on in the periphery, it's kind of like the crew of the Titanic conspiring to do a mutiny after the Titanic has hit the iceberg, right? Hey, Toronto Rebel News fans, listen up. Rebel News is celebrating 10 years of fearless journalism with our 10th birthday bash, and you're invited to join us. Last week, hundreds of Rebel fans packed our Calgary party for an unforgettable night of music, food, and fun. Now it's Toronto's turn. Join us on Thursday, October 16th at 6 p.m. near Black Creek and Lawrence for a night you will not forget. Expect a lively evening with Rebel News journalists and crew, past and present, cocktails, hors d'oeuvres, and of course, a birthday cake.
Happy birthday, Rebel. Happy birthday. Happy 10 years, Rebel. There you go. That's what we're talking about there.